Love in Every Moment story. This is the story of a beautiful family with two kids. One is a toddler, the other is a 3-year-old baby. A loving mom and a very responsible father. This is a typical day in their life. Let's start the video. It was a cool morning and Dad had to go to work, so he got out of bed to prepare breakfast for everyone. As usual, Mom was still asleep and the children were playing happily in the living room. Everyone was having fun until suddenly the little baby fell off the slide and hurt himself. Mom immediately ran to him, picked him up, and asked if he was okay. "Fine, Mommy," the baby said, wiping away his tears. Dad picked him and his sister up and said, "Of course, my loves. Which story do you want to hear?" "The Princess and the Frog," the little baby said. So Dad began reading them the story. Then Mom took both children to the playground to distract them from what had happened. "Oh, you must be tired after such a busy day," Dad whispered. But she was already fast asleep. Dad smiled and went to his room to sleep next to Mom. They got up, did their morning routine, and went downstairs to eat breakfast. "Good morning, my loves," Dad said with a big smile. "Good morning," the children replied. The children were delighted with the idea and immediately began helping Mom with the preparations. They mixed the ingredients, rolled out the dough, and decorated the cookies with frostings. "Yeah, I'm so tired," the little baby replied. "You're the best dad in the world." Dad was very moved by these words and hugged his son tightly. "I love you too, my son," he said. "And your mother and I are so happy to have you in our lives." And then he fell fast asleep. Dad carried him to his room, tucked him in, and kissed him goodnight. He then went to play, but not before giving his dad a big hug. Dad smiled and shook his head as he watched his son play. He couldn't believe how lucky he was to have him as his son. "You will always be our little baby," Dad added. They saw many different animals and had a great time. When they returned home, it was lunchtime. He turned around and saw her walking towards him with their daughter in her arms. "We love you too, son," Mom whispered. "Daddy, come play with us," she said. Dad smiled and picked her up. "No, Dad, I'm all grown up now." "Well, if you say so," Dad said with a wink. They knew that the most important thing in life was to be surrounded by the people you love. Then they went home to eat dinner and watch TV. He knew that the most important thing in life was to be surrounded by the people you love. So, "'Kay, my loves, let's go play," he said. "You know, I love our life here," Mom said as she snuggled into her husband's chest. "Me too, honey." "I love you and our children more than anything in the world," Dad replied. "Say, honey," Mom said with a big smile. "Say, sweetheart," Dad replied, kissing her on the cheek. After eating, the family rested for a bit. "Wow, look at that, Daddy," the little baby said excitedly. "It's beautiful," Dad replied. But even when they were older, Dad and Mom never stopped showing them love and affection. They knew that the most important thing in life was to be surrounded by the people you love. "Come on, my loves, it's time to eat," he said with a big smile. They all sat at the table, but there were only 3 chairs. So little baby sat on a stool next to Mom. They worked in silence for a few moments until the little baby spoke up. "You know what, Mom and Dad? I'm so glad I have you as my parents. You're the best parents in the world." Then they all ate dinner together, and Dad read a bedtime story to the children before tucking them into bed. Soon they finished breakfast and Dad went to work. "Hey, honey," Mom said with a big smile as she saw her son enter the kitchen. I'm going to take you to the park today. That cheered the children up. Say, sweetheart, the little baby replied, returning the smile. They knew that the most important thing in life was to spend time with the people you love. Dad went up to them and asked, "Hey guys, who wants some pancakes?" But Mom hugged them and said, "Don't cry." The children immediately shouted, "Yes, yes, please." After that, they watched TV and waited for Dad to come home from work. After everyone woke up, Mom said, "Today we are going to have a picnic in the backyard." The children were very happy because they love spending time outdoors. They spread a blanket on the grass, took out the food and enjoyed their picnic. Dad smiled and said, "Okay, I'm making breakfast for everyone. Mom will be here in a few minutes." And then he went into the kitchen. After a while, he called everyone to eat breakfast together. As soon as Dad left the house, the children started crying. When they arrived at the park, they saw lots of children playing and made many new friends. They spent several hours at the park, then went home, had lunch, and took a nap. At first, the children played by themselves, but after a while, they started playing with Dad. They played until sunset and then went inside. After dinner, they all watched TV together. Suddenly, Mom felt unwell and went to lie down. The children and Dad asked her if everything was okay, but she just told them to let her rest for a while. "Daddy, can we read a bedtime story now?" the little baby asked. Halfway through the story, the little baby yawned and snuggled into his father's shoulder. Then he went back to the living room to read the rest of the story to his daughter. In the morning, the whole family woke up early. After breakfast, Dad took his children to the zoo. Then, Mom said, "Today we are going to bake cookies together." While the cookies were baking, the children looked out the window and saw a rainbow. When the cookies were ready, they all sat down at the table and ate them with milk. It was the most delicious thing ever. When Dad arrived, he told them about his day and they told him about theirs. As the days went by, this family continued their daily routine, enjoying every moment together. One day, while playing outside, the little baby said to Dad, "Daddy, I'm so glad I have you as my dad." The little baby smiled and said, "I love you too." Suddenly, he heard his wife's voice calling him. Their daughter then jumped out of her mother's arms and ran to her father. They all spent the afternoon playing in the park. The children laughed and played until sunset. After the children were tucked into bed, Dad and Mom went to their room to get away for a moment. Mom smiled and kissed her husband on the neck. "I love you too," she whispered. As the years went by, the children grew up and became more independent. One day, the little baby, who was no longer so little, came home from school and found his parents in the kitchen making cookies. He then joined his parents at the table and began helping them with the cookies. Dad and Mom were very moved by their son's words and hugged him tightly. The little baby smiled and shook his head. They all laughed, and the little baby continued helping his parents in the kitchen. Every day this family showed each other how much they loved one another. It's the end. Thank you for watching. If you like this story, don't forget to share it with your friends and family. We have many more interesting stories for you.